Alright there YouTube, welcome back to the channel. This truck behind me here is Old Red, our Project 1983 Peterbilt 359. In today's video, we're doing a turbo upgrade. Alright, so this engine here is from the factory, 400 horsepower, big cam 3. It's got a whole set HT3B turbo on it. This turbo here is an HT60 that would originally come on a 525 horsepower rated N14. Now for those of you guys that don't know, the N14 and the big cam Cummins are both the same engine family. The N14 is basically based off of this engine. It's the same block heads, you know, all that kind of stuff's all the same, except the N14 is just a later electronic version of that truck. So now there are a few differences between this whole set HT3B and the HT60. It's going to take a little bit of work to make this go on the truck, but this turbo should be a nice upgrade for this engine. Currently I have this engine set somewhere right around 450 horsepower, and it works quite well at that power level. I would like to bump it up a little bit more. I'm not going to get crazy with it until I end frame it, you know, and then after that, plans to add the air-to-air off of an N14, get rid of the air-to-water intercooler setup on it, do a few other things, and try to build about a 550 horsepower engine that's going to be really reliable. Now I'm not going to turn it up quite that high for right now. Right now we're just going to put the turbo on it, and I'm going to leave the fuel settings alone where it's at. Should just help it run a little cleaner, a little cooler EGTs, and then if everything's looking good, might bump a tiny bit more horsepower into it. Now one big difference between the HT3B and the HT60 is the HT60 uses a V-band clamp, whereas the 3B uses a hose clamp. Now my original plan was I was going to put a V-band on here with a short piece of pipe to be able to connect the hose, because I am going to be going to an air-to-air setup. If I left the V-band in place, I could use factory N14 intake plumbing to plumb this to the intercooler. However, it doesn't look like I'm going to have room to do that. So now what a lot of guys have told me they've done on this turbo swap is they just take a flap disc and they grind this down until the boot can fit over it, clamp it down there, just leave just a little bit of a lip to help hold the hose on. And that should be fine, and I think that's what we're going to go ahead and do. Okay, so I've got this ground down now so that I can slip a hose end over it. That's going to work out pretty good. Next thing here, we're going to want to start pulling these boots off.
Watch your speed. Trouble ahead and trouble behind. And you'd guess that notion just crossed my mind. This old engine makes it on time. Leave Central Station about 8:45. It's River Junction at 17. Dakota to 10, and she's rolling around. Driving that train round cocaine. Casey Jones, you better watch your speed.
So we're just gonna check this for boost leaks here. Now you do got to be fairly careful because this could blow out fairly easily. But looks like we're okay. Alright, we're climbing an 8% grade at 98,000 pounds gross. Got a pyro temp of 800 degrees. About 33 pounds of boost. She's running good. Alright, so I wanted to run a few miles on this turbo here before I finish this video up. So I can give you guys a good kind of rundown on it and what I think of it and how it works. So I've put about 10,000 miles on this truck since I put that turbo on. And I gotta say, it is a definite worthwhile upgrade on these things. Now this truck was originally equipped with a HT3B, whole set HT3B. This is an HT60 from a newer N14. Now, this turbo creates a lot more boost, a lot lower in the RPM range. You can run this thing at 1500 RPMs with more fuel added to it and never have to worry about EGTs. I turned up the fuel a little bit and I'm probably running somewhere 475, maybe even 500 horsepower, and I never see EGTs over 800, 825 at the most if I'm maybe kind of lugging it over the top of a hill. So definite worthwhile improvement as far as I'm concerned. You know, with the old HT3B on here, you definitely had to keep this engine up over 1700 RPMs anytime that you were using any throttle, otherwise the EGTs would climb pretty quick. They weren't awful, but you had to keep it revved up. And so this definitely gives you a little more RPM range. I still don't pull it under, you know, 1600, but, you know, it's nice to be able to pull it a little bit under 1700, not have to be watching your EGT gauge like a hawk like you had to do before. Now, the big downsides to this is I don't like this arrangement of grinding the V-band down to slide a hose over. I don't like that at all. I'm gonna change that up later. That's not gonna stay like that. And that's really the big downside of using this turbo, is it's not a direct swap. Also, the oil feed fitting's different. Other than that, as you guys saw, you can bolt it up, reclock the turbo, and put it on, but it's not a direct swap. And that's really the big downside to this turbo. But really, overall, I would definitely recommend that swap. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe down below. Thank you. Have a great day.